Let's talk about this week in fantasy football. So, we had a big matchup between our division leader in the Streaks division, taking on the undefeated Trisha, leading the Spartans division. Let's see how they did. Scott turned in a respectable 71. Was that enough to keep his streak against unbeaten teams alive? Unfortunately not. Trisha came from behind with an 84 and knocked Scott off the top spot to continue unbeaten at 4-0. If you really want to add some insult to injury, you'll just compare their standings last week to this week. Trisha went into week 4, number 1 in the league, with Scott right behind her at number 2. This week, Trisha's still number 1. Scott has dropped all the way to 9th with just one loss there. Sorry, Scott. Over in the Honey game, things continued to be close all week. Celia snuck out a win, but I don't think anybody's super pleased about how that one went. I forgot to point out the most important similarity between these two last week. They both prefer chubby black pets. And let's see how the Slow Dogs did against Michigana. Really thought I had a good shot on this one. Till last night when I got this text from Celia at 11:37 asking if I was watching this tie about to happen. I said that I was, but really I was asleep because I thought there's no way that Tyreek Hill doesn't get 40 yards. But it turns out Tyreek Hill doesn't get 40 yards, so me and Will tied last week at 84 points. How close was Tyreek? 35 yards. I just needed 5 more yards to get a win, and it didn't happen. Not how I was hoping to wake up this morning. Now, I do want to point your attention to something I put in the message board earlier this season. I said that the way that we were going to run things in this league was that ties in the regular season would be broken by whoever's significant other scored the most points that week. I think that's just a terrible rule, right? Like, we can all agree that that would be a really crappy way to break this tie. So we're just going to let the tie stand, and we'll just continue doing that for the rest of the season. You know, these rules exist so that we can have fun, and I think arbitrarily giving me a win instead of a tie wouldn't be fun for anyone except me. I do also want to point out this top 3 teams in each division make the playoffs. I am not positive I can make Yahoo do it that way. So right now, if you look at the league standings, the top 6 teams, we have 4 Spartan division players and only 2 Streak division players in the top 6. So if the playoffs started right now, this wouldn't be the case. If I can, at the end of the season, I am going to enforce this rule number 1 here. And if I can't, then we'll just go by whatever Yahoo gives us. But I just want to tell you, if you're the 4th person in your division in the top 6, there is a chance, if I get my way, we will drop you out of the playoffs just so that we have 3 from each division playing. So keep that in mind. Hey, remember this game from last week? We had the Happy Aardvarks playing off against 99 Problems, right? I pointed out that Carla has been the luckiest player in the league. She came in having scored 202 points, which was 13th out of 14. And after just completely stunning performance, Carla has rocketed up to the 5th most points scored based on scoring 119 points last week. Well done, Carla. I also pointed out that Amanda had a dominating league lead for points scored against, and after week 4, she still has a stranglehold on points against. So the streak continues. Carla continues to just be the luckiest person in the league, and Amanda, it'll turn around sometime. Let's see how it looks in the race for the Cup. Mad City is chugging right along at 5:38. Cleveland's just ahead of them. Farmington made a big jump here with Carla setting the season record for highest score in a week. Milford is moving close to 3rd place here at 632. Chicago's got 664. EL, we got number 2 locked in at 707. Berkeley is still in the lead here, but this is neck and neck at 708. So I'm really hoping that Week 5, EL can retake their place at the top of the standings for this one. Let's talk about what Week 5 looks like. We have just an awesome schedule this week. We've got brother versus brother with me and Cece playing. The Sasquatch showdown between Brandon and Will. Michelle's playing Marion. Amanda takes on Scott. Trisha, Carla. I mean, you guys can read these, right? I'd like to call this Revenge Week because we have a couple of these matchups that are really making up for previous losses in this league. So we've got a showdown between Nick and Matt this week. It's a game that somebody has to win. Right now we're looking at a combined 1-7 record between these two. So I'm looking forward to somebody inching closer to the playoffs. We've also got a huge showdown between number 1 and number 2 in the Spartan division. Trisha looks to continue her unbeaten streak, taking on Carla, who's looking to avenge Scott's loss last week at the hands of Trisha. That'll be a good one. We have a showdown that's been 10,481 days in the making this week between Cece and myself. I have 2 things I want you to take away from this picture. Number 1, this isn't a trick photography. Celia's eyes really did glow demonic red for the first 13 years of her life. Secondly, let's point out the weird thing that I'm doing with my hand in this picture. And unfortunately, I spent the first 16 years of my life just really making some questionable pose choices, as you can see in this picture, which really makes it look like I would be the first 7-year-old to roofie someone. The big matchup this week is a showdown between Brant and Brennan in a game that just has to be called a house divided. I don't know if people out of state know this, but Allison's a pretty big Michigan State fan, and Kevin is a pretty big U of M fan. And if you're like this guy in the background of Allison's picture wondering, like, well, why does that matter? I just want to point out that there is a huge industry in the state of Michigan hyping up this rivalry as a house divided. You can buy literally anything with those words on it, and Michigan on one side and MSU on the other side. And if you had asked me when I met Allison if she would ever end up with somebody who cheers for the Wolverines, I would have said firmly no. But U of M is playing Michigan State this week on Saturday, the same week that these two face off. And there's a lot on the line here, right? Michigan State has a long history of winning, right? Notable state alumni include Magic Johnson, Quicken Loans owner Dan Gilbert, and Tom Gores, owner of the Pistons. There's some really famous U of M alumni, too, from history, including Haitian dictator Francois Duvalier, Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, and turn-of-the-century serial killer H.H. Holmes. This is where we get the famous line in Michigan, if you want to own a professional sports franchise, go to state, and if you want to kill a lot of people, U of M's the one. Hey, real quick before I wrap this up, if you look at the schedule for next week, we have some really good games there, but I have done jokes on all of these, and I have no ideas for a video for next week, right? Matt's playing Celia, thought maybe I'll do like a little sibling thing. I kind of feel like that's a weird thing to do as we're all in our late 20s, early 30s. Trisha's taking on Kevin, and it will probably be a matchup between number 1 in each division. But again, we've already done that. Michelle's taking on Will. I really, really tried to get Denzel Valentine to send us a video hyping up that matchup. For those of you who don't know, Will played college basketball with Denzel's brother, and I thought that would be enough of a connection to get Denzel to send us a 10-second video saying he's cheering for Michelle this week. But that never happened, so I have no ideas for a video next week. So if you want a video, you've got to send me something I can use. So whether it's a video, picture, or postcard of you talking smack about whoever you're playing, if you and your partner just want to send a picture of the two of you watching football, that's cool. Something silly about what you're going to do with the cup if you win it, or even just use this time to beg someone to trade you a tight end. It's all good, but I'm not going to put a video together next week unless you guys crowdsource me something, so set your lineups. Let's see how this game goes.